Nice little intro we have today.
Yeah.
All right, welcome to the Mexican Soccer Show. I am Wiso from FoodMexSource.com. This is an hour-long podcast dedicated to all things Mexican soccer. On today's show, we'll be analyzing the Mexico-Brazil match that took place yesterday. Defeat 2-0. We'll be analyzing all the plays, the goals. We'll have some video for you, something new on the show. We'll also be talking about probably one of the worst weeks for Piojo in Mexican football, from the U20 fracaso to the Stars of Toulon not doing the greatest of weeks for Mexico. We'll also talk about the Copa America in-depths in the group. What games do we have to win? What games can we squeeze by losing? And then obviously talk about the Women's World Cup, just a little mini preview. Giving you the dates on what to watch, but a lot to talk about today in the Mexican Soccer Show. But first, let's see who's with us today, the analysts, the experts that know the game and see it and live it. Let's talk to Cesar from California. Cesar, how's it going, sir? I know we had a busy week doing a lot of shows, doing a lot of commentaries on the show, but Cesar, how you doing, sir?
Good. I actually enjoy all that work. You know, sometimes this work doesn't exactly feel like work, so I enjoyed it thoroughly. But yeah, doing well. Still feeling a little ambivalent about Mexico's loss to Brazil yesterday. Yeah, it was not our best roster, and I know that Brazil, they're really intimidating squad. But at the same time, I don't know. I'm still trying to piece together how entirely how I feel about that match. But looking forward to the Copa America. I'll save my thoughts for later, but I think we'll be all right. I'm not saying we're winning a championship like Piojo said that we're gonna be become like a finalist of some sort, but I think we'll be okay.
No, yes, definitely from what we like to see. Mexico not doing the greatest, but we knew that was going to happen with the defense. But let's say Mr. Highsides and Mr. Tom Marshall, who is in Guadalajara, Mexico, not traveling, Tom, and you're home. What's going on?
All good. Just lots of games again, really. I mean, Women's World Cup also starting tomorrow for Mexico against Colombia. So, it's exciting times. Friday, obviously, the big opener against Bolivia in the Copa America, and must-win game.
Yeah, definitely.
Already.
Must-win game. Don't forget the draft, right? There's a draft on Wednesday. A lot of people excited about it. All the clubs are in Cancun.
Oh, more so of a vacation.
Is anyone having a draft party? That's what I want to know.
Yes, it's more so of a vacation. They're all taking part in Cancun. I don't know if you've seen photos of the hotel, but it's definitely pretty swanky where they're all hanging out right now too. No one's even wearing official outfits. It looks like they're all seriously on vacation. Like I've seen some guys walking around in sandals. So. It's definitely them just having a good time out there.
It is a bizarre system, isn't it? Where everyone, all the club owners and the managers just go to Cancun, and who knows what goes on behind closed doors, but then just thrash out deals and, I don't know, all-inclusive as well, so, it explains a lot.
All right, well, exciting times here with the owners going to Cancun. I mean, it is great. Let's go ahead and talk about what we're doing today. Let's just go right into it. Obviously, a lot of people are willing are hearing want to hear our reactions with what's going on with Mexico and Piojo, and we should be worried. Mexico versus Brazil, but right away for you guys, initial thoughts, and let's see some video of what happened today. We have 2 minutes of our highlights, but Cesar and Tom, initial thoughts on the game.
So, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I thought it was disappointing in the end. I thought it was a decent start, decent first 25 minutes, but I thought the defense was again poor. Yeah. I don't think, obviously, they've not played together much, and it just completely shows. I couldn't believe Miguel Herrera after the game said he's got even more of a conclusive idea of his starting 11, because for me, there's just question marks all over the field now, and before when the squad was announced, I don't think there was. So I think it's actually gone backwards in that respect. I think the team's not creating many chances. I don't think the strikers look to particularly in form, and I think especially Raul Jimenez, who I think's got a massive role. He just doesn't seem to be with it at the minute. Midfield, I mean, we don't even know if he's going to play two holding midfielders or one holding and two in front. I mean, I just think there's so many doubts at the minute now.
Yeah, well, let's go ahead and look at the highlights as you're seeing on your screen. Starting the game off, you could see that Brazil was already dominating, especially in the corner kicks that we were talking in the live commentary. But I would love to hear your thoughts, Cesar, on that very first goal. Once it's coming up, more of the of Brazil just kind of dominating in the air with Luis. But that very first goal, I mean, can we say that we blame it on Corona? Here it is, as you see on the flank, and it looks like this poor defending from there. And Corona, with an elementary mistake, I mean, goalkeeping 101, you should always get to that post, right?
It's tough because I mean it was a very creative decision right there that was done right. But I mean like you mentioned Corona's got to be protecting that near post. That's his coverage right there, and I know he was expecting a cross right there and a pass right in front of him. But no, you definitely have to be defending that near post, and it was. I don't know if it's really too surprising that we lost to Brazil. We knew there was going to be problems defensively. We know that this isn't a Mexico roster that's going to be having a huge amount of success in this tournament. This was expected. But that being said, there's still worries. This game just kind of highlighted all of the little areas that we're going to struggle in during this tournament. I think that's what that truly did. We're going to be and what kind of sucked too is just as a Mexico fan was that my assumption going into this game was that Corona was going to have a good game. Corona has done, Choi's done very well for quite some time for Mexico.
As you've seen on your screen right there, I mean, just the defense going on the Rafa Marquez. It looked like he was, I'd like to call it a little tunnel, but I don't think it was. But you get to see the sensation of a clear striker being in front of there. Tom, on the goals, can we say that it was just on individual plays? Mexico versus Brazil, and that's why they lost it. Overall, I don't think the team was overwhelmed by the Brazilian team, but it's just those two plays caused the 2 goals.
No, I don't think it was overwhelmed, but let's not forget that this Brazilian team wasn't full strength either.
They don't care.
The obvious one's Neymar, but Oscar's not there. Marcelo, there's Dani Alves wasn't even picked in the squad. Marcelo's injured. There's just so many players there that Brazil has still got, and this was an experimental team from Brazil as well. So I think you can argue both ways on that one. I think that overall disappointed from Mexico, and I think it comes in the context, as I mentioned then, that, expected Mexico to struggle in this game. It's Brazil in Brazil. It's going to be difficult. But it comes off the back of the game against Peru, where for me, I thought Mexico were pretty bad. I thought they were lucky, very lucky to get a draw. Mm-hmm. And I mean, obviously Miguel Herrera was experimenting in that game. And, even the first half against Guatemala, I thought there was very little cohesion. So I think we've had 3 games now, and you could say maybe the first 25 minutes against Brazil, maybe the second half against Guatemala. And I think apart from that, I mean, we've not seen much to think that this Mexico team can do anything. And I think that there's key figures in the team who are struggling. I think the main one is Raul Jimenez. I think he's been very disappointed. You watch that first Brazil goal, rewind, and in the space of 3 minutes before that Brazil goal, Raul Jimenez loses the ball easily. I mean, just gives it away twice. He gives it away twice in 3 minutes preceding that goal. And at this level, playing teams like Brazil, we can say Chuy Corona, but let's go before that in the play. And Jimenez lost the ball, and he's got such a big responsibility. And he's played in Europe now for a year with Atletico Madrid. I think he's 24 now. It's time for him to kind of come out of this bubble of being a young player and show that he's a leader. He can be a big player for Mexico.
Yeah, but what do you expect from a guy who hasn't played for a whole year? I mean, his games, so at least they're coming back. No, I fault him too. I mean, he's not there, and Piojo was, I think, noticing. Volso did a better job when he was on there, I think, than Raul Jimenez did in the last game.
Well, yeah, I mean, El Toro, he runs around like a bull, doesn't he? I mean, that's what Volso brings you, and he will do it. And fair play. He might be limited, but at least he does give you that.
Yeah. And the unfortunate thing is, on paper, Jimenez should be our best option. It was almost supposed to be like there's going to be no doubt that he's going to be our starting option. But in the past 2 games, he's done nothing. He's had no positive effect. And like Thomas said, he kept losing possession up there, and it's definitely weird because then you look at the rest of our striking options and you think all right, so what do we do? Are we really going to have Esqueda up there? Are we really going to have Lalo Herrera? Is that what? I mean, Lalo Herrera might work well with Jimenez, but it's just. I thought that Jimenez was going to be our leader up there, up top, and that's just what worries me most is when he's not doing very much.
Well, I was actually maybe. I mean, I know it crossed my mind. I wonder if it crossed Miguel Herrera's as well. But when we move forward to the Gold Cup and we were expecting to see Carlos Vela, Chicharito, Oribe Peralta, and Giovanni Dos Santos, 4 top strikers there, and 2 of them are going to definitely be on the bench. And I'm wondering if Herrera's now not thinking, because he's getting criticised as well. I'm sure we're going to move on to the tweets, but he is suffering. The Mexican press today was heavily critical of him, and not just for the tweets, but also for the last couple of games. And I'm wondering now if he's not thinking, wow, maybe I should have put Jonathan Dos Santos in there. Maybe I should have put, Giovanni even or Oribe Peralta as a minimum. Because at the end of the day, those guys aren't going to get much games in the Gold Cup.
Really, I mean, if Tecatito Corona was able to go to both, I mean, maybe the players didn't want to do two. Maybe the players they wanted that summer off. Since if you're thinking about a Copa America next year, Confederaciones, I think we don't know the backstory of who wanted to come. But no, I'm definitely there. Our backups are supposed to be our B, and where are we now, right?
Do we really think that Peralta is going to get that much time in the Gold Cup? Do we really think he's Do we really think he's going to get much time? I think it's going to go. I think right now it's going to be Chicharito and Carlos Vela, and I think immediately the next sub, perhaps after that, would be Giovanni Dos Santos. But I don't think there's. I think it's I don't think there's going to be very little opportunity for Peralta to get any minutes. And I was actually pushing for that for a while. As I think Peralta, he should have gone to the Copa America, because the way that we were trying to stretch and trying to find those strikers, had to bring in Vuoso, as one of our strikers. That says, the fact that we have to bring him in says so much. And it was so funny because during the game when we had Vuoso up there with Herrera, I believe that just says so much about our strike force that we have right now for the Copa America roster.
I mean, for me, to take Eduardo Herrera, put him in the Gold Cup. You needed a game. You're desperate for a game. Costa Rica, United States. You're a goal behind. You need to change it up. All right, Herrera, physical presence. Get him up there. Change it up a bit, and put Peralta in the Copa America and pair him with Jimenez. I mean, that for me is a generally good strike partnership. I don't know. I mean, it's difficult. There were always going to be these problems, and the Copa America's not even underway yet. We're already discussing how it's going to be a failure, but I don't think there's any other conclusion, unless by some miracle, they can really get it going. I mean, I think the real blessing for Mexico is that on Friday it's against Bolivia, who if you look at the FIFA rankings, they're the worst team in the whole tournament. Right. So, I mean, it's a double-edged sword, because obviously you'd think that Mexico have got a good chance of getting the 3 points, but if they do mess up, and mess up would be a draw as well, then you can imagine the criticism. You can feel it. I mean, reading the newspapers this morning, you can feel it's all bubbling now below the surface, and we know that historically the Mexico head coach's job is just such a fickle job, such a fickle employment,
Yeah, no, definitely. Let's go ahead and analyze, first half and the second half. And we've talked already about the players. We talked about, obviously, Piojo's choices. But it looked like in the first 20 minutes, and I think when I was doing the commentary with Johnny, we were saying that, hey, being 20 minutes, it looks like this Brazil isn't really attacking well. I think it's actually a pretty good match for Mexico, and it wasn't until, obviously, the 2 defensive mistakes, Ayala being pretty much taking advantage of, and then obviously Corona's actual mistake there with the goal. But then at the same time, Rafa Marquez not doing as great, and it looking already slow, being subbed off. I don't think Rafa can play 90 minutes, especially when Copa America comes in. After the 2 goals in the second half, guys, there's a couple of subs. We didn't see Tecatito have that much of a control and much of the ball because of the changes. But talk about what happened in the second half. Tecatito coming in, Fabian coming in, Salcedo coming in. It looked like we're starting to see that starting 11. It definitely wasn't the starting 11 that we saw against Brazil. But your thoughts on the changes? We saw one half and we saw the second half. It could also be because Brazil, obviously changed their players. But it looked like Mexico was dominating possession. But again, this was a very lethargic Brazil. It wasn't the Brazil you're going to see. But at least we showed some positive. What are the positives that we can take from this match, Cesar?
Honestly, the only real positive I have from that game was the fact that we played with 2 defensive mids and the fact that Tecatito did really well. Other than that, it's really hard for me to find genuine positives. Maybe that Jerry Flores is a much better right wing back than George Corral, because George Corral really did nothing that right wing back position. Maybe that Salcedo is a little bit more of a confident presence in defense, despite his young age. But I think the only real positives I had were just that yeah, Tecatito, he did an excellent job, but at the same time, I think his downfall is his confidence. What I love about him is his confidence. I love that he didn't care. He took on 1 to 2, 3 Brazilian players, and he has no inhibition. He has no inhibition at all with his dribbling. But I think Brazil figured him out a little bit in the second half, and I think also the incorporation of Fabian also kind of crowded that area as well. So I think that's why he was shut down in that half. But I think the only genuine positive I have about this is that we needed another defensive mid in that spot, and I really liked. I think our midfield was our best spot in that game. I really liked how Wemes was playing. I liked how Osuna was playing, and I liked how they worked with Tecatito right there in the middle. And it makes me wonder whether Mexico should use more so of a 5-2-1-2 as opposed to just a 5-3-2.
Yeah, I kind of saw maybe Tecatito, in the second half once Fabian came in, maybe not doing as well as he did because there wasn't that much control. But him going forward, I obviously did like the way that he liked to take on David Luiz, even though I think maybe he read him well and is all that. But Tom, the second half and the changes, what did you see? Was Mexico more stable? But we said Brazil, turning it down now, being up 2-0. Nobody wanted to risk anything for the world.
Yeah, I don't necessarily agree that it was that much better in the second half. I don't think I've seen too much that was like, oh, brilliant, this team's gonna. I don't think the changes. I thought there were so many changes by both teams as well that it was difficult to make firm conclusions. Like what Cesar said about the 2 defensive midfielders, I think that was. I thought they looked good. I mean, I think if you're going to take a positive out of that game, it was the first 25 minutes.
Yeah.
Because I thought Mexico were the better team, and that's going to Brazil. That's going on the front foot in Sao Paulo against Brazil. And if you want to take a positive, if Mexico can get that 25 minutes and make it and put it into a full 90 on Friday, then I think they'll defeat Bolivia, and by a couple of goals. And obviously they had the penalty decision at 1-0, which obviously would likely have made it 1-1, and then it would have been a different game. But yeah, I think what happened was, I think Cesar nailed it then as well, because Tecatito started very, very brightly, and it looked like, and it was great to see. But I think that Brazil worked it out, and this is the problem with playing 2 defensive midfielders. If you've got Tecatito in a free role like that, it's just so obvious that you kind of your inspiration, your generation of plays is going to come from Tecatito Corona. So what do? You mark him especially tightly, and then I think largely you've stopped this Mexico team ticking. And I think that's the problem when you've got 2 defensive midfielders. But I don't know what else Herrera can do, because at the minute the defense looks dodgy, and I think I think in terms of balance it is better now with 2 defensive midfielders. The other thing is, Miguel, this 5-3-2 system for me. All right, for the Gold Cup team, the players have been used to it now for 18 months. They know it, they're into it. You've got Aguilar, who's played under Herrera with America, Miguel Layún, who's played under him with America as well. Well, this Copa America team, pretty much all of them at the clubs play with a flat back 4. And if you look player for player at that team, it just doesn't suit a 5-3-2. For me, they don't have the wing backs. I know Flores has done okay, but for me, they don't have the full backs. They don't have the centre backs. They've got no left-footed centre back, and I just don't think it suits the team. I think 4-2-3-1 or 4-3-3 would be much more suited to the players available. And I think that if you look at it, I think managers with more experience, more worldly managers, would have took this Copa America team and switched it up and tried different things out in these 3 games.
Let's talk about. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
Did that depress you, Iso?
Yeah.
I think that depressed you.
There's been a lot of that.
Oh no.
There's been a lot of depressing stuff. Like I said, I had that chat with Naib a while back where we watched the Mexico under-20 game. That depressed us a little bit. Watched that Brazil game. Yeah, it depressed me a little bit. And you know what? It's probably we're going on to the women's team at the very, very end. But I'm gonna have a good feeling they're gonna struggle too. But it's just depressing stuff right now. So hopefully we'll see some success in the Gold Cup. That's all I'm praying for right now.
You got to keep the faith. Let's talk about the starting 11. Let's talk about Copa America. in the groups, and that we're seeing. Obviously, I think we lucked out on our very first game. In any of these group stages in these tournaments, you have to win that very first game, which is, Bolivia. Tom said it. Bolivia is the worst in this tournament. Usually we do pretty okay in Bolivia against the Bolivian team. Doesn't have any of those names, but what are your starting 11 after you've seen these 3 friendlies? Piojo said that it kind of did help him to see it. I'm pretty sure it's not going to be that 11 that we saw against Brazil. But let's talk about this. Right now, Corona or no Corona and goal?
That's a tough decision right now, isn't it? Even though right now the argument everyone is making, and a lot of people are making this argument, is that they're saying to immediately replace Corona with Talavera, which I could see the argument for, because he was near perfect against Peru. I think he was arguably Mexico's most important player against Peru, easily. And he's typically done very well not only for the national team, but also back in the Liga MX, and he could make a case for being one of the best goalkeepers over there. But that being said, it's rare to see Corona make those mistakes that he has. And I'm not even just saying just the goals. I think some of the crosses that Brazil had, he just came off his line, and it was during really strange it was really strange timing for him to come off his line. But I still have a lot of faith in Corona. I think he was Liga MX's best goalkeeper of the season. I think in the past he has been also near perfect, like impeccable for Mexico. So I would still most definitely start Corona, but I would understand if Talavera was switched in.
I just think one bad. I know it was we fault his game, and at the time we faulted in his game and that, but we've seen Corona do amazing things, and we've seen him had great games. I don't remember a bad game in the national team for Corona for a while. To say that if he was Piojo's starter and obviously give him confidence to take him out for one mistake and one goal in a friendly, I think he learned it was a friendly, and there we go, and move on and see how he does. But I think it would be detrimental for Corona to take him out after one mistake when your keepers aren't going to play 100%, perfect the whole time. And we've seen Corona do that in the past. So especially with our keepers, because we have so many, Talavera, Ochoa, Corona. I mean, it looks like one little mistake and they're out. It definitely feels like that for Ochoa at Malaga. But I'm thinking Piojo's going to stick with him, and hopefully, Corona gives those performances that he has given us in the past with El Tri. Tom, what do you think?
Well, I just don't know why we're at, Monday when a major competition starts on Friday once again, and we don't know. And Miguel Herrera said he doesn't even know who his goalkeeper is, and the goalkeepers don't even know. And I don't think it's ideal, going into a tournament like this and still not knowing. Like you said, it's one mistake. Yeah, obviously Corona's been brilliant for Cruz Azul this season, but Talavera's been brilliant for Toluca. I don't know. I just think that he should have made this decision before, and he should have been given the final 2, whichever he went with, should have been given the final 2 friendly games, because this defence hasn't played together before, and it's very important that there is some chemistry with the goalkeeper. And, at the end of the day, it's not happened. But, I don't know. You can go with either of them. I don't think there's a massive difference, to be honest. I think they're both very good keepers.
As long as it's not Melito and Hernandez, right?
Yeah, yeah, geez. Really?
I make fun of Melito and Hernandez. Yeah. I make fun of him, but he did an excellent. If it wasn't for him, then Veracruz wouldn't have done nearly as well as they have this season. But the past, I guess it's now the last 2 months since it happened last month. But there's some strange stuff from that guy, fundamental mistakes going on in Melito Hernandez, just letting the ball literally slip through his hands.
Yeah. So,
all right, let's go ahead and look at obviously our group. We're in Group A with Chile, Ecuador, Bolivia. Obviously, Chile being the host country, probably the most difficult game in that group. And in our little preview, Bolivia is a must-win game. And having Bolivia first, I think it's good to have. Always is great to have 3 points. We're looking for maybe 1 point or 6 points, obviously, to get us in the group. And remind me, is it the two best third places that go through? Correct?
Yes. Because there's 3 groups. Yeah.
So with 3 groups, so even if the best third places, I think we're looking at where we're at. Unless we do horrible versus Ecuador and versus Chile, which can happen, I'm thinking with this defense, the 3 points isn't going to be enough. At least a tie and a win, because you do have other groups that are gonna, I think, are gonna a little more difficult. But what do you guys think? How many points? And I'll talk to you Give me your prediction and why. How many points do you think Mexico's going to get in this group starting the Copa America? And let's start with Tom.
I think 3 points. I mean,
I'm lazy.
3 points. But that might actually be enough. That might actually be enough to go through.
That's true.
But I mean, I think Bolivia are like I said, the worst team in the competition. I think Mexico's got definitely enough to beat them. But Ecuador are a decent team. We saw in Los Angeles a couple of months back that Ecuador gave Mexico's A team a very good game. And for Ecuador, this is the central focus of all the summer, the central focus of everything this team has been working to since the World Cup. And that's just not the same for Mexico. So I think you have to put Ecuador favourites for that game. And then Chile, obviously, they're a very, very strong team, Chile. And so I think I'm not saying Mexico can't nick a draw against Ecuador, could even beat Chile if they played very, very well. But I think on paper you have to say 3 points.
I'm going for 4. I think the Ecuador defense isn't the very best. I think easily if we don't, but there's a big worry. If we don't beat Bolivia, then that's almost the end of it all, isn't it? Like Tom said, if we get a tie, that's not a very good result. And you look at the Bolivian roster, and it's just honestly it's paper thin. I mean, all of their defenders, I believe all their goalkeepers as well. They all play in the Bolivian league, and no one really. I mean, no offense to the Bolivian league, but no one takes that league seriously in South America. Chile, we could just
harsh words, man.
Yeah. Okay. Chile, we can just go ahead and say that's going to be a loss right there. I mean, you once again just looking at the roster, but it's just scary everywhere that you look on the Chilean roster. I think I wrote it down. It was like 15 of the 23 players from Chile, not even just play outside of Chile, but they play in Europe. So it's just they're just. Yeah, they're just stacked. They're just stacked everywhere. Ecuador, I think we have a little bit more of a chance, but I do worry about our defense against them. And I mean, you look at players like Ener Valencia, Jefferson Montero. You see someone like even just like Fidel Martinez. It's gonna be like a Leones Negros game, except he's gonna have like better players surrounding him. So it's gonna be pretty tense against Ecuador. But I'm shooting for a tie in that game, so I'm going for 4 points. We either get into second, maybe sneak into a third place spot and move on.
Wow. You're giving points.
He's not going to leave in a minute.
A very, very negative show today for the Mexican Soccer Show, guys. Right?
Oh.
Let's talk to see about what's going on with the chat. Hello to Roberto Millan, and obviously Pancho Villa's in the house. Pancho Villa saying, me, Mexico gets 12 points in the group.
Oh, how do we get 12 points?
Hey, I don't even know how you can get 12 points. Hey, Tom Malinchista, 12 points for Mexico. So you're getting I'm thinking at 9 points, but good to have some fun on the chat.
What gets scary though is like so say I don't think any of us predicting that Mexico's gonna get in first place, are we? Nobody? Yes? No? No?
No.
Okay. So we're saying second place best. If they finish in second place of Group A, they're gonna take on second place of Group C. All right, let's see who's in Group C.
Colombia.
Brazil, Colombia, Peru, and Venezuela. But we'd be taking on likely Brazil or Colombia. Not good. All right, say we finish in third place of Group A, and we somehow get one of those 2 spots on to the next round. We would take on the winner of Group B. Let's check out Group B. Argentina, Uruguay, Paraguay, and Jamaica. We're probably not going to be taking on Jamaica.
Jamaica will win the group, according to Pancho Villa.
Yeah, that has Argentina written all over it, so it's going to be scary. If we do find a way outside of the group stage, it's going to be pretty tough once we make it to the knockout round. And I think, I mean, honestly, I don't think we're going to get any further past that.
If we get first place, do we get the third place of Group C?
Yeah. No, that's it. That's what needs to be aimed for. I mean, obviously.
Even that game. I mean, we'll get in Peru. We might get, Venezuela. I mean, in South America. So, interested to see what
I didn't even look up the possibilities for that because it's not going to happen.
Look, in all seriousness, I think Mexico is going to surprise. I really do. I think I think it's going to be more than 4 points or 4 points. I feel like sometimes the Ecuadors and Chile get a lot of pressure when they come to to Copa Americas to perform, and Chile being the host. So I mean, I don't think we've seen Mexico's real team there, and it's a little worrisome. But I think Bolivia is going to give the actual, I think we're going to win, and I think it's going to look like a good game, and I think we're going to give Chile its run, maybe a tie, hoping for a tie. But at 4 or more points, I don't think we're going to win the group. But who knows? I think we're going to surprise. I'll be the positive one in Mexico. I hope all of the bad games already happened, all of the horrible mistakes by the defense, and Mexico's going to go in there surprise. We're going to have a Tecatito that's going to run circles over some players. The defense is going to click with Salcedo. Rafa's going to be subbed out in the first half, and then we're going to see Salcedo, Ayala, Jerry Flores, Aldrete actually play well together in that back five. I think it's going to be good. I think it's going to be all right, guys.
I'm going to say it's going to be interesting to see how our defense holds up against Alexis Sanchez. I'm going to love to see how Cata Dominguez just deals with him. Just like
Cata's not going to start.
Well, he's actually I think he's been doing a little bit better than Ayala in this last game. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a start.
Yeah, that Ayala. Yeah. Let's talk about the starting 11 before we go on and talk about Mr. Piojo in his fabulous week that he had, especially over the weekend. Starting 11, we did say Corona for everyone. Tom?
I'm going for Talavera.
All right, Talavera for Tom. And let's go with the back line. Obviously, on the outsides, I mean, we agree that it's Jerry and Aldrete.
Yeah, because Velarde and Corral, I think, gave some of the worst performances I saw in the preparation matches. Those guys were terrible in that position.
And then the three, obviously, Rafa Marquez starting because he's retiring, even though I think he's still too slow. And thank you, Capitan, but I don't think this is the tournament for you. But Rafa Marquez in the middle with Salcedo, which I think is our best defender. And then the question is Cata or Ayala. Cata or Ayala, Cesar and Tom?
I'm going for Cata.
Go on. Cata. I've got Ayala, but I don't think Salcedo's a guarantee either. I think it's and I think even Valenzuela's got a chance as well. I think that.
Ooh, don't be doing that, Tom. Don't be doing that, Tom.
I mean, there's no left footer in that group, which is bad, considering you're playing a back three, and I mean for balance and stuff. And honestly, I think from what we've seen and from what Herrera's kind of signalled, I don't think. I mean, he doesn't seem to be that sure. You know what I mean? Because I think if he was sure, then he would have stuck with one and at least give it some playing time together.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm still sticking. I mean, if we're going for my ideal starting 11, I would not have Topo anywhere near. I'd actually just tell him to go straight home. I'd be like, honestly, we'd be better off we'd be better off just playing the tournament without you than sticking around here on the bench. But I'd have Salcedo, Rafa, and I think I would have Cata Dominguez, because I think he hasn't been terrible. I think he's actually done a decent job. Maybe he's looked like he's had a decent job because he's been able to hide his performances, behind all the other awful defensive performances that we've seen so far in these friendly matches. But I think I would start him above Ayala, who really didn't do much in the last match.
I like the fact that we just said Topo go home.
I said Topo go home. I'll start instead of him. Actually, no. Oh my God, no. Can you imagine me back there? 5'7".
And then so about the mid. Let's talk mid. Tom, I mean, does Fabian have even a chance to start an 11 in this?
Well, for me, no. I mean, he does have a chance, yeah, because I think again. I mean, I don't know what Herrera's going to do. He said, "What do I think he's going to do?" I can't predict it. I mean, but I think that Fabian's another victim of kind of the formation. I don't think he's looked ever that good under Herrera so far, and I think a lot of the players you can say the same. So I've got Medina and Güemes, like kind of holding, but obviously Medina's got the ability to go forward a bit more, and then Tecatito in a free roll. I just think that's the best balance, and it makes use of Mexico's best player at the minute, Tecatito, who he can run where he can go where he wants. He can move out to the wing when he finds space, and then up front Jimenez and Eduardo Herrera.
Up front, Jimenez and Eduardo Herrera, even though Raúl hasn't had the greatest of games, right?
I mean, it's just not very inspiring what else is on the bench. I mean, Buoso is 33 years old. Like, I don't know, I just don't. I get annoyed with this Copa America team. It really does annoy me.
I can tell, man.
It does annoy me because it's like, all right, I understand it's not an A team. It was never going to be. But what I want to see is at least a couple of young players who like have never been on the international stage, who have got the possibility of going to Europe and or making a name for themselves. And then I'm looking at like Vuoso and like Esqueda and thinking, man, it's just not very inspiring. You know what I mean?
Sets out midfield going forward.
I think it depends on the game. I think against Bolivia, I would have used 2 attacking mids. I would actually put in Fabian, give him a chance, and I would have him work right next to Tecatito. Even though in the last game they kind of ran into each other a little bit, I think you have to give credit a little bit to the Brazilian defense. But I think against Brazil, I would be a little bit more attack-minded, and I would try that. And I would have Güemes right there as being as a defensive mid. I would agree with Tom, and I think with against Chile and Ecuador, I would have someone like Juan Carlos Medina right there in Fabian's spot, and maybe just play as more of a defensive role. I think he not only does much better as that defensive mid, but he also brings in leadership to the squad as well. So yeah, just a little bit more attack-minded midfield for the game against Bolivia and against Chile and Ecuador. Just bring on these two defensive-minded midfielders.
Oh, there it is. Oh, if Piojo could watch our podcast, I mean, you really learn a lot from.
It still wouldn't be that. There's still a lot of doubts, even in that team that we've given. Being too negative now, but I don't know.
Did I tell you guys about my dream last night? I had a.
No, you didn't. Is it actually? Can we do it on air or?
We can do it. I had a dream that I was interviewing Piojo, and it was going well. He was giving me some good answers, and then I asked him whether Talavera or Chuy Corona were going to start, and then he immediately just ran away. That's just my dream kind of ended after that. I asked him who was going to start, and he just sprinted and like ran off. He was pretty quick for a big guy, actually. At least in my dream, he was pretty quick.
Dreaming about Piojo. All right, well, Piojo is the, obviously the guy in question right now. A lot of tweets are coming out of him over the weekend, being criticized a lot with his tweets. I think it was El Verde Cumple, or what was the tweet that he had? Something about the Green Party. Obviously, not the Green Party as we like.
I don't know if it was word for El Verde si cumplen.
Aha, sí, El Verde sin cumple, or something like that.
Well,
a lot of criticizing, especially from the media, from the fans, in that Mexico, a national coach is tweeting, and the controversy is that a lot of other players, Peralta, I think even Fabian, were tweeting almost the exact same message, and speculation, especially if it's in Mexico, that they're getting paid, maybe political contributions coming from the party to these, obviously these footballers in their Twitter. Tom, you're in Mexico, you're seeing the news, you're seeing the talk, you're there in Guadalajara. Tell me, obviously, the news and how Piojo is slowly not be the most popular guy in Mexico, especially after this weekend.
Well, I don't know. I'll give you my take on it. Firstly, in principle, you've got a right to give your views. Okay, fair enough. But firstly, he did it on Sunday, and it was possibly illegal. So we'll have to see what the national.
Illegal by the country illegal? As in Mexico illegal, or illegal by the FMF that you're not supposed to involve yourself with political,
The country, by the country's laws, it might be illegal. But they're going to investigate that.
So a person cannot talk about, what's going on?
No. I mean, if I understand it rightly, it was part of a campaign with other celebrities to promote a political party when there was actually a ban in place from last Wednesday. So if they do prove, like Belinda tweeted something out, the singer, and obviously the other players as well. So if the Mexican authorities investigate and find out that this was a campaign by the Partido Verde,
okay,
to put these celebrities and not obviously make them. I mean, obviously in theory there's been nothing about payments. Nobody knows about payments. I mean, obviously people in Twitter are saying there might have been payments, but unless there's anything you can prove there. But anyway, that's one thing. Secondly, it violates the FMF's rule on political neutrality. Thirdly, it's just not very bright. It's just stupid. It's a couple of hours before a game. Yeah. Okay. The press have absolutely gone crazy on him because basically this Partido Verde has an awful reputation. It's already been fined millions of dollars in this campaign for irregularities. I mean, that's not me speaking. Traditionally, it's had a pretty bad reputation as well. I mean, the big thing a few years ago in the last campaign was he was campaigning for the death penalty. I mean, just openly, and everywhere you went in Mexico, it was like death penalties for kidnappers and stuff. And, you know, and then expanding it beyond that, you've got these games in Chiapas. The Mexican national team have played twice in Chiapas in the last 8 months. Now, I'm not insinuating or suggesting that that is linked at all to Herrera or the Federation or anything to do with that, but it doesn't look good. And I think you've got a certain sector of Mexican society, and the governor, the governor of Chiapas is from the Partido Verde, and you know, he just got married to a pop star who's backed big time by Televisa as well. So you've got this, it all plugs into this idea from a certain sector of Mexican society that there's a group of powerful political people who are controlling a lot that goes on in this country. And one of it's Televisa, the others are PRI, which is linked to the Partido Verde. They're very closely allied. And then you've got Herrera chipping in. So then you've got like the kind of national team linked to it as well. I'm not saying it's true, you know, but what it does is, and the reason why we've got this reaction is that Herrera's taken sides on something that divides Mexicans and divides Mexican society and really irks people. It really does get people riled up. And that's why it was, for me, that's why it was just a stupid thing to do.
Yeah. And
go ahead, Cesar.
I don't know if other people agree, but I'm a strong believer that like sports and politics should not be mixing. And I know Tom says like he has the right to say, you know, what he feels, how he feels, but I think it's one thing to say I love Taylor Swift or Dr. Dre is the best rapper of all time, but it's another thing to say like you should vote for this party, and you know that it's directly influencing people's lives every day. And I think I don't know, it makes me uncomfortable. And unfortunately for Piojo, like Tom said, it was said on the day before, just hours, you know, before friendly, and you can see like all the negative responses from that. And then after the loss, it almost seems like Piojo's, you know, approval ratings are at an all-time low at this moment, and it puts more pressure for him to succeed, because now people have this little bit of negative energy towards him, and they're just a little bit more critical of him just because of those statements that he made. And you could kind of, I don't know, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true, but you could almost sense like him on the sidelines, you know, maybe he was thinking about another game that he was focusing on as opposed to the Brazil one, maybe this political game that, you know, he had got himself into, you know, during this match against Brazil.
You know what? Everyone's got their own opinions, and my opinion was obviously if there is some kind of, you know, if there's money involved, just like Tom said, if if this political party did pay or you know grounded everybody, and there is a law being broken, go ahead. You know, obviously people are stupid enough to do that, and you know, more power to the law in making sure that we have, you know, the right elections in Mexico, especially a country that's suffering with corruption. There, aside from an opinion-based Twitter, I don't think Twitter is an official, you know, medium of communication where everything that's taken like a press release or anything. I think that, you know, in my opinion, any celebrity, if they want to, you know, if they really believe they're passionate about changing something in their country, they're going to go ahead and use their own means in order to talk to the masses and change an opinion. Or however it is, you know, just like Efrain Juarez said, hey, you know, go out and vote, or don't listen to, I think Piojo, I think there was some tweets there, or other celebrities saying go out and vote, or against the you know the Green Party or whoever it is. I think they have the right in order for them to do so. Now, if it is some kind of legal problems, then yes, go ahead. If there is an investigation, then he shouldn't have done that. And I think we're going to see what happens with the MFF. But because it's Twitter and it's a personal medium, and I know that he would use this, you know, to broadcast things, but I think that's where kind of that gray area goes in there. But it'll be exciting to see what happens in next year.
I think he's, you know, he's giving his view, and you know, I don't think it matters if it's on Twitter. It makes more of an impact if it's on Twitter than a press release in some ways, because it's just so open. But I think that, I mean, I know it's like the celebrities that do it, but I think what it comes down to, and I think that maybe people in the States and elsewhere don't understand, is this particular political party has got a really bad reputation. I mean, again, that's not my personal view. It's just that, you know, they don't have a good reputation. It's like, and the slightly kind of, they're not one of the main parties. So he's come out with this view that's kind of really coming from the side of everything, and like it's almost like, all right, it's not an exact example this, but imagine if like a few hours before a game, you know, Jurgen Klinsmann tweeted that for people should vote for the Tea Party. You know what I mean? In the US, can you imagine everyone would be just like, what?
I think people are gonna give him crap. I think people are gonna be, you know, or not, or maybe they're going to, you know, support him. It depends on your political party that you affiliate with. But to say that he shouldn't do that, it's our right to judge him, and it's our right to you know, say you're stupid for doing this. Not saying he's stupid or anything, but I mean, Piojo put himself out there and he got the rejection and he got whatever. Maybe he got the okay from all the people that are going to vote for the Green Party. Maybe that's how he saw the advantage. I think that's where our, you know, our judging and the consequences of him tweeting something political is going to, you know, hurt you or help you in any way or not. You know, if Rafa Marquez came out and said, don't vote for the Green Party, everyone would be, you know, either, you know, applauding him for what he's doing, but yet it's because he's tweeting something that we kind of want to hear.
Yeah, I mean, no, definitely that's true. A lot of people really don't like this party, and that's what feeds into it. And that's, you know, like you said, I mean, it goes down legality. But I mean, this is a party that, I mean, it's already been fined for lots of irregularities in this midterm election. So you can imagine people in Mexico are kind of like, right, they've already committed all these irregularities. What's to stop them kind of not doing this campaign with Herrera and other celebrities to pay them off? I mean, it's only it's an accusation. There's not any evidence behind it as yet. But you know, like you said, I mean, I don't disagree with you. I just think it's very stupid. And if we take it back to the football, just quickly, Cesar, sorry.
No, sorry. I guess we could talk about this for a little. Yeah, go for it.
But if we take it back to the football, it's like we all know, like I said earlier in the show, how fickle a position the Mexican manager's position is. And Herrera's been an absolute genius at kind of balancing all the interests, and especially with the press. Now, all right, the press in general in Mexico tend to be liberal. You know, they've supported him. They tend to be kind of, you know, center-left. And all of a sudden he's going through a kind of more right-wing, kind of like a bit of a more of an extreme party. And that it doesn't make him look good for the people who he has previously been kind of, you know, good towards and been catering towards. I mean, he's very aware of the press, and I just think, I don't know if it's him who's done this or somebody's advised him, but he's messed up, and he's messed up big time.
Yep.
Politico mis pelotas.
I'm gonna say just go Google the Green Party and see some of their history, some of their stances on things. Ever when I went to go visit Tom Guadalajara, you saw the Green Party stuff everywhere. I was like, oh, dope, cool. There's a Green Party out here. That's awesome. This is great, Tom. Guadalajara's an amazing place. But then he explained to me it's not entirely the Green Party that we think of. You know, over here in the U.S. But yeah, that'll be my last thought. Just go Google Green Party and see some.
The views that are expressed are their own views, not the Mexican Soccer Show. Let's go ahead. Enough about the politics. We had to mention it because obviously it's part of what happens in the drama. But let's talk about the U20s and the fracaso. As you see, our producers giving us the go-ahead to wrap this up. But the U20s are an amazing show that we had, Cesar and Naive. You know, obviously, you know, we had a commentary, but you know, really quickly, we don't have that much time. And how big was it, a fracaso, Cesar? I know that you work with him. How big was this for Sergio Almaguer? Is he going to be fired? Everyone's talking about this, and again, you know, Mexico coming in, overhyping everything, and not being able, I mean, to get past the group stages with a very talented squad.
He's got to be fired. There's no, I think to me, there's no question. It wasn't like he just failed in this World Cup. It was the last one as well. In the last 2011, it was a 2011 U20 World Cup, or 2013, if I remember correctly. He barely scraped by through the group stage and put Mexico in a position where they had to take on Spain. Yes, they nearly beat Spain, but it was still a poor showing from the squad. Once again, fast forward, there was no real identity to the team going into this World Cup. Positions were constantly being changed, and it's just there was no real intensity. There's no real determination from the squad as well. And when the team kind of has that kind of attitude problem, you'd assume that the fault all goes to Almaguer, and it's just it was definitely pretty. I mean, even their only win against Uruguay, it was only due to a last-second free kick. It could have been a tie. Mexico could have ended this tournament just with 1 point. and you can't really put the fault anyone other than himself for just this terrible showing from El Tri.
Tom, you're obviously it's your 20th Friday night. Usually not the the usual Mexican at 9 p.m. I mean, a lot of people watching it, but this fracaso and it looks like over the week, especially also with the Toulon tournament. If you think about it, the loss against the U.S., not having the best week for the youngsters, and then even for Mexico, not having a win, what happened in the last two games.
No, it was a disappointing Friday. I mean, the loss against Morocco, they were 1-0 up and quite comfortable in the Toulon tournament, the under-22s. The under-20s, I mean, I think the only thing you can say is that, or the only positive way of looking at what happened is that if in 5 years 3 of those players are regulars in the national team, then it can be the youth program is working to a degree. I mean, sometimes it's not always about winning, but I mean, I agree with Cesar in terms of the individual talent on that team should have done better than they did. And I think at the end of the day, it was the game against Mali which lost them it, because Mexico were a better team than Mali on paper, and they should have won. And at the end of the day, Almiguer made 2 substitutions at half time. He didn't seem to quite know how the team was going to go about getting a victory against Mali, and that's the result. I mean, it's disappointing, because I think this team, if it would have had a game or 2 more under its belt, you always kind of got frustrated, because it did have the potential to kind of explode. And Uruguay were a very good side, and Mexico beat them. So it wasn't like Mexico didn't have quality. It was just that it wasn't kind of used in the right way, and that Mali game was obviously a big disappointment.
I think one of the more unfortunate things about this tournament too is that there was so much talent going through, to this tournament. We had players like Lozano, we had Aguirre, we had Eric Gutierrez, we had Orbelin Pineda, Diego Gama. There was talent left and right, and this would have been a big opportunity for them to show off their skills a little bit. It's to have these younger players, to give them a tournament for them to showcase what they could really do. And it sucks, because just how they had to leave through this embarrassingly early exit, especially someone like Lozano. Lozano was undoubtedly he's been given attention. I highly doubt that there isn't at least like 1 or 2 European squads that are looking at him right now, and he could have been. People were talking about him being one of the potential standout players of the entire tournament, and now he has to head home and watch the knockout round from home. So I think that's one of the more unfortunate things for this tournament, is the opportunity that there could have been for these younger players, and it's just no longer there.
On the chat, everyone's saying that they played like 13-year-olds. It's like the U20, U13 from Mexico. But I definitely think it is a fracaso, and you should. I don't know. Interesting to see what's going on with the chat. Obviously, once we get to any type of political talk, everyone has, obviously their opinion, and I'm glad the fact that we can share our opinion. This show hasn't been shut down by somebody, or we're in a country where we can't share our opinion, and that's where I'm definitely a believer on, but
maybe it was a good thing we didn't have.
Hold on, man.
If you shut him down, if the Green Party might get to him. But what's happening in the chat?
Those awful Greens, man. It is funny though. I mean, it is funny that you get the Green Party and everyone's like, yeah, hippies and like environment and all this, and then the Mexican Green Party is just real badass. You know what I mean?
Again, but the logo though, like seriously, look up at the logo. Like when I said, Tom, when I was hanging with you in Guadalajara, it looks like an environmentalist group. They got a bird. They got a bird on their logo. This tiny little cute bird. It's like leaves.
Cut you guys off. Let's hear what's going on in the chat. In other news, everyone just noticed and realized that Cesar likes Taylor Swift. That's going on in the chat right now, saying that
it's catchy stuff. Who doesn't like her?
Scarves behind all the Mexico and Quakes bufandas over there in the back. Let's go ahead and move on. Anything else on anything related to the U20s, the Toulon tournament, or the Mexican national team before we go into a Women's World Cup that is happening? Mexico playing tomorrow. The ladies that I think they have really sweet jerseys, in my opinion, better than the men's. But anything else before we move on to the women's?
No, I was actually just going to talk about their jerseys, to be honest, but...
That's pretty sweet.
All right. Well, as shout out to Miss Claudia Tristan who watches the show, and she kind of let us know last minute. Hey, you going to talk about the Women's World Cup? We had not planned on, so we'll be honest. But thank you. We definitely we squeezed it in there. We're gonna at least give you what we know about the Women's World Cup. I'll be honest. I don't know a lot. That I will be watching tomorrow. So Cesar, tell us. It's in Canada, and I think the U.S. was able to win today.
Yes.
Not so much of the rivalry it's between Mexico and the U.S., but at the same time, it is a CONCACAF region, and a lot of people, especially that watch women's soccer, do enjoy watching the U.S. national team, women's and the men's. I have no problem with. To me, they're just teams. It's not the U.S. men's national team that I hate deeply within my heart. But it's a great tournament. But let's talk about the dates and maybe some players that we need to watch out for, Cesar.
Well, I mean, just really quickly, just talked about this beforehand, but it was just funny. Just like, I was literally just talking to my friend about how it's important to support the Women's World Cup, and then, I saw that tweet that said, "Are you guys going to talk about the Women's World Cup?" And I realized that that's just not something we set up for. So I apologize. We should have prepared for this a little bit better, but we will mention it.
Nah, we didn't.
Oh, there you go. You got the logo up. All right. So just really quickly, so Mexico, they're going to have the women's team. They're going to have their first game tomorrow against Colombia, and that's probably going to be their easiest match of the group. Right now they're in Group F, so it's going to be pretty tough for them. Afterwards, they're going to be taking on England on June 13th, and they're going to be taking on France on June 17th. Right now, England and France are both ranked within the top. They're ranked number 3 for France and number 6 in the FIFA rankings right now. So it's going to be pretty tough for Mexico's women to be to get past that group stage. Then again, I mean, the 4 best third place teams do make it on into the next round, but it's just yeah. Oh, come on, like it's like we got the third place teams moving on in the Gold Cup and Copa America as well. So that's not too
the World Cup.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
So here's the thing about Mexico's group. You've got obviously tomorrow on Tuesday against Colombia, who were the only team ranked below Mexico. I think Mexico ranked 25, Colombia 29.
Yep.
So it is like the Copa America. It's a big game on Tuesday. Mexico really have to win, especially knowing that the third place would get them through, or would likely or possibly get them through. And then England and France, a lot tougher propositions. England is 6th, France are one of the favourites, and ranked 3rd by FIFA. So it's a tough group, but with that third place open, it's all about getting that result against Colombia, and then trying to nick a draw against England or France, which would be absolutely huge. Personally, I don't want to make it too much of a social political show, but I don't know. Like speaking to Mexicans, obviously down here, I think that there still is a stigma attached to women playing football and playing sport. I think that's what you see, you hear about it, and I think that it'd be really great to see the Mexican women's team do well at this World Cup and kind of inspire more girls to kind of get out there and play, because the potential in this country for women's soccer is huge. And a lot of the players in this current Mexican national team are actually from the United States. Yeah. So it'd be great to kind of build something really real here in Mexico and advance the league and get more girls playing, because at the end of the day there are social obstacles at the minute, and the better that the Mexican national team can do, no pressure on the women playing, but the more kind of the more press they get, the more seen they are, and I think the more accepted it'll be. I think it'll be a generational thing as well, but that's why I'm hoping the Mexican women do big things in Canada.
Yeah, go ahead.
I said shout out to the FIFA video game to finally including some of these women's national teams in their games. Just because, can you imagine just some of these girls, if you want to get them to play FIFA and then there's not a single women's player in the game, that would definitely suck. I know what you would do, to have to modify a player to have a little bit.
That's what they do. Yeah, that's what they.
Yeah, it sucks. And then you think about why some of these girls aren't into the sport. So I think excellent job finally. that the women's national team are going to be. I think I don't know how many teams will be in the next game. I want to say 16 national teams are going to be in the next game. But good job right there to finally incorporate them into the video game.
Well, there we go. As far as obviously, it looks like a lot of the players, and you said, Tom, obviously a lot of players in the U.S. I mean, in Mexico, are in American universities, are bilingual, are going, and I think that's that's a plus. That's where the women's, I think, league mostly. In what they're playing is in collegiate league and collegiate tournaments. So, and I think that's where Mexico's doing their recruiting and taking anybody that has got a talent in these universities with a last name or a history of Mexican parents and is able to get a very competitive team.
I've absolutely no problem with it at all.
Of course
because
not.
I think if you've got access to the passport and stuff, then absolutely, and I'm sure these girls are absolutely loving playing for Mexico. But at the same time, it'd be good. It seems like it's an easy option for the federation to kind of plug in to the US system, which is obviously much more advanced than in Mexico, and kind of recruit players from there instead of kind of coming back to Mexico, pulling out the checkbook and saying, right, we were absolutely going to try and invest in the women's game and do it in a serious way, and and put your money where your mouth is and really go for it.
Yeah, definitely. It's good to see that. As obviously Mexico in the World Cup, as you might know, Mexico doesn't make it to the Women's World Cup very often. So for them that is there, hopefully they're able to get a good result. And one thing I do have to say is that maybe the stigma of women's sports, but I think when any Mexican athlete does well, I think Mexicans and the country of Mexico really rallies behind it. And I really think that if you start seeing a good positive outcome here in, obviously in Mexico in the Women's World Cup, I really think Mexicans are going to go. If you think of, Ana Guevara, if you think of Lorena Ochoa, if you think of any of the Espinosa, the divers, the sisters, anytime the gold medal,
the racquetball player.
The racquetball player. I mean, women's if they're getting any gold medals, I think Mexico is definitely love the fact that the attention that any Mexican is getting. I mean, I really love that culture that even if it's Mexico in bowling, it doesn't matter. We'll be there cheering on.
Dude, we should start a bowling team. That's just all you're implying right now. Let's do it. We'll have like the bowling balls too. They'll have like the green, white, and red stripes, and just like we'll wear like jerseys with just giant eagles. Dude, let's do it.
True. I mean, look at Checo Perez in F1 racing. As soon as he was in it, I mean, everyone. Obviously F1 has been really popular in Mexico, but anytime you have in there, I guarantee you people are watching, sir. Whatever guy from the Netherlands the skier that we had in the Winter Olympics.
Oh, you mean the artist slash like Prince slash
like
music producer?
Prince, whatever. I mean, people were noticing, so I'm excited. I think people are going to watch the game tomorrow, and good to see that. I would love to have a league. Can you imagine a league between the U.S. and Mexico and a women's league? I think they could do it. I think that would be.
I mean, Xolos, they have the women's team who's been taking part in that. I think the semi-pro or not. I forget the name of the women's league that they're taking part in the U.S. So that'll be good right there. I know Johnny was working with them the other day. So.
All right. Yeah, kind of like hockey, that having two countries playing in one league, that'd be kind of cool. But we're running out of time, and the producers say it must wrap up. Thank you so much. Lots and lots to talk about. Copa America, obviously, right around the corner on Friday. I hope you guys enjoyed our coverage for the U20s, our coverage for Mexico. We definitely have a lot in stores, a lot more shows. You're going to see a lot more. We're definitely keeping the Monday main show, but we're going to have some pre-shows before the game. Stay tuned. We might have some live commentary if everyone's available. So a lot to talk about and a lot to share here at the Mexican Soccer Show with FoodMex Source. I'd like to thank Tom and Cesar for obviously taking time out of their day to come and talk to us. And I'd like to thank you guys that are in the chat that are always so loyal and are always asking us and making fun of us at the same time. But it definitely brings, definitely a joy to have you guys there and the public to listen to on Twitter. Follow us at the Mexican Soccer Show. Cesar and Tom, thank you. Any last thoughts or any last shout-outs, if you like shout-outs here at 92.4 FM?
Well, I thought after the whole political conversation we could start talking about religion and our theories on what happens after we die. But I'll end it with fingers crossed for the women's national team tomorrow, and also for the Copa America. It could be pretty difficult, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, Tom.
Yeah, no, another big week. Looking forward to it. Hopefully the Copa America team can at least get out of the group, and then we'll have a At least I think we'll have a big game then, because it would be against one of the really big boys from South America, which would be great.
Argentina, Brazil, or Colombia. That's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those if we make it out the next round, yeah.
Easy.
All right, guys. Well, this has been another Mexican Soccer Show. See you guys during the week. Friday, Mexico versus Bolivia. I'm sure we'll have a pre-show, and see you guys there.
Oops.